I've been obsessed with Balatro these past few months, so I figured I'd see what other deck building games I can find. Here are the top 10 free deck builders on Itchio you don't know about. Dungeons & Degenerate's Gamblers is a roguelike deck builder where you play blackjack using cards with unique effects. Every round you face off against an opponent who is playing blackjack against you. If you don't know what blackjack is, every card has a number value and you can choose to draw another card or stay where you are to keep your current score, with the goal of getting an exact 21 or as close to it as you can without going over. The score difference between the two players is the amount of damage that gets dealt, so if you bust, your score is 0, causing you to take more damage. Between rounds, you can pick or buy cards to add to your deck that have unique abilities. I love the fast-paced nature of the game as you quickly analyze your deck to decide if you should hit or stay. If you're looking for a blackjack game with unique card modifiers, then I recommend Dungeons & Degenerate's Gamblers. Mr. Magpie's Harmless card game is anything but, as you push your luck in a roguelike deck builder to defeat your boss. You pick which cards to flip over on the table with the ultimate goal of earning $999 so you can buy your way out of the exit door. It's partially luck-based, but you can mitigate that with some strategy. You have to watch out for enemy cards and find cards that help you, like money cards or hint cards. You can choose to cash out at any time, but the more you risk your life, the more money you can potentially earn. After every round, you go into the shop to buy cards of varying rarities and prices. They're similar to Jokers and Balatro that give you buffs, incentivizing certain play styles. Playing quickly is encouraged since you automatically lose if the clock reaches 24 hours, and you can refill health by fast-forwarding the clock, which is a nice risk-reward system. There are 3 doors you can enter each round, with 2 paid doors having spaces that can synergize with certain perk cards you can buy. If you're looking for a roguelike deck builder about pushing your luck and creating synergies, then I recommend Mr. Magpie's Harmless card game. Tic Card Toe is a roguelike based on tic-tac-toe where you unlock cards with special powers that synergize in different ways. The core gameplay is just tic-tac-toe, so if you get 3 in a row, you get points based on how many of your circles were on the board. Get above the required amount and you win. You start out with just 2 abilities to help manipulate the board in your favor, but can choose a new one at the end of every fight to help you in the next one. These were really fun to try out as you figure out what works best not only with your cards and their cooldowns, but also the cards your opponent has. My only criticism is that depending on the card makeup, some fights can take too long. If you're looking for a tic-tac-toe deck builder game with fun abilities, then I recommend Tic Card Toe. Paper Soldiers is a deck building roguelike with a game board consisting of different tile types, where you lead an uprising against tyranny. You have to manage your food, money, and army levels to make sure you don't run out of anything or else you lose. Oh, no. Each card has 2 sides that can be flipped over, giving you different choices to play. Cards can only be placed on specific tile spaces of the game board, and most cards make the spaces have a cooldown before you can play a card on that space again. Tile spaces and cards can synergize with each other too, like you'll get extra resources if you play a card next to a meadow or wheat field, for example. You win by playing cards to lower the crown authority, which costs a certain amount of your army depending on the card you play. After each level, you advance further on the map and get to pick new cards to add to your deck. New cards and tile spaces are introduced the further you progress, which keep things fresh. If you're looking for a highly replayable tile-based deck builder, then I recommend Paper Soldiers. Through Hell and Back is a timeline-based roguelike deck building combat game where you place actions on a timeline to outsmart enemies. Actions are performed left to right, so you'll have to figure out which cards to place where to be most effective. For example, you might have to place a shield card on the spot before an enemy attacks so you don't lose health. This gets more complicated as the game progresses and new types of cards are introduced. Essentially, red cards are offensive, blue cards are defensive, and yellow cards are for buffing other cards in the timeline. It's rewarding to build your deck properly and get crazy synergies if played properly, and with a little luck from the draw. Apart from combat, you'll come across helpful characters and locations, like a devil lair where you can choose between one of 2 buffs for a card in your deck, for example. Enemies have unique attacks, and the boss enemies are especially fun to figure out. If you're looking for a deck builder that's all about decision making, then I recommend Through Hell and Back. Get Yoked Extreme Bodybuilding is a roguelike deck builder where you play cards to get gains and become an absolute unit. The game is structured like Balatro, where you have to get a certain number of points, or in this case gains, in a given round to progress. Cards in your deck give certain muscles gains, but muscles can also get injured if you go past their fatigue points limit, meaning they can't be grown for 2 turns. You only have so much stamina per turn, and each card costs a different amount of stamina. There are modifiers and cards that give buffs to take into consideration as to how they synergize with other cards. After each round, you can buy new cards and upgrade existing cards in the shop with money you earn. Apart from the egregious AI art, if you're looking for a Balatro style game with a bodybuilding twist, then I recommend Get Yoked Extreme Bodybuilding. Dungeon Deck has you explore a procedurally generated dungeon in the form of a deck of cards as you collect powerful weapons to defeat enemies. In order to win, you have to fight through 3 different decks of enemy cards. Every time you defeat one deck, you keep the cards you currently have, but new cards will appear in subsequent decks, increasing the amount of cards you can utilize and add to your deck. Combat consists of playing attack cards to damage enemies and defensive cards to give you things like shield or allow you to play a monster card to help you in fights, for example. After each fight, you pick a new card to add to your deck, and every few fights you can buy and sell cards in a shop to suit your deck's build. By the 3rd deck, I ended up with a really overpowered defensive build that kind of felt like cheating. If you're looking for a deck building card combat game, then I recommend Dungeon Deck. Pillow Fight is a roguelike deck builder where you use abilities to fight monsters as you manipulate pieces on the board. The goal of each turn is to have more white sheep tokens than black sheep tokens. Every white sheep slides the scale 1 spot to the right, and every black sheep moves it 1 to the left. Once you get the scale all the way to the right, you win. There are different pieces on the board that you try to manipulate in your favor by using abilities on them or moving them around with a limited amount of move spaces. Enemies, however, also get abilities, like only allowing you to move pieces horizontal, for example. After each fight, you can pick a new ability to add to your arsenal, but there's also more special pieces on the board to watch out for, making combat more layered and complex over the course of a run. If you're looking for a roguelike that requires planning and strategy, then I recommend Pillow Fight. Dire Decks is a shoot 'em up where you destroy hordes of enemies with your attacks-based deck. Each card in your deck is some kind of ability or attack that can be played. Cards cost energy, which refills over time. Rounds end when you kill a certain amount of enemies, indicated by this circle that fills up. Between rounds, you're given a choice between 3 permanent upgrades or given 3 cards to pick from, 1 to add to your deck and 1 to remove. This creates interesting decisions early on, but freezes are way too overpowered. If you're looking for a roguelike where you choose your own attacks, then I recommend Dire Decks. Tiny Kingdom is a card-based city builder where you play cards to grow your kingdom. The goal is to get as big of a population as possible while ensuring you don't run out of money. There are various card types that have to be placed strategically depending on the tile's location. Taverns give bonus population if they're next to other taverns, and wheat fields give extra gold if they're placed by other wheat fields, for example. You have to make considerations while thinking about your island's limited space. New cards are given every turn depending on what cards you play, and you unlock new cards once your population reaches a certain number. If you're looking for a roguelike city builder all about planning, then I recommend Tiny Kingdom. Those were the top 10 free deck builders on Itchio you didn't know about. I'll have my playlist of free Itchio games you don't know about linked in the description. Thanks for watching, give me money on Patreon, and don't forget to like and subscribe to keep up with this ongoing series.